If you avoid FPP patterns because you don't like tearing all the papers afterwards, watch this. Magic. Maggie here, welcome to my sewing room. I'm so excited. Today we are going to try foundation paper piecing the tear-free method with freezer paper. I'm going to bring you along with me to try it for the very first time. I've never done it before, but I'm very intrigued and excited to see if I like this better than using the glue stick and the regular printer paper. And I'm even more excited because I'm going to be using Forest Friends fabric, which is new to my shop, and it is so cute. So let's get into it. What you're going to need today is your foundation paper pieced pattern. I got this free economy block shape from Rosie Taylor Crafts. I'm actually planning on using this method with my Scrappy Triangles booklet, but to keep, I don't want to give away any of the designer's patterns in that book by showing it, and then you can kind of see the measurements and stuff. So I'm just going to do an example with this basic free economy block shape, which is also really fun. So you'll need your paper pattern, freezer paper. I think this might just be like from Aldi or Walmart, just basic freezer paper. You need your rotary cutter and cutting mat, just like you would when you're normally piecing. Throughout this video, you'll see me using these add a quarter or add an eighth rulers. I love these. I have them in my shop. How they work is they have this like lipped edge here. You can use the rotary blade on this side. Don't use it on this side. I've made that mistake before. This side is like tapered down so that you can use it to easily fold the papers. I'll show you how it works. Love these rulers. I would probably start with the small one if you're going to get anything, because this large one can get in the way if you're not making a large pattern. I'm going to be using a mechanical pencil. I love these, also in my shop, but you could just use a regular #2 pencil, whatever you have laying around. And I'll also be using my Caterpillar Glow light board from Sewing Parts Online. I have a discount code in the caption for anything from Sewing Parts Online. I love this thing. I just got it. Got used to it so quickly, and it's so much nicer. I actually used to just hold my FPP shapes like up to the light or to a window, and I've really enjoyed having this. So it's a great gift if you're looking for a gift for a quilter or just treat yourself, but I'll show you how that works too. So let's get started. Let's make our first freezer paper FPP block together. So I started this and I forgot to start recording. So this is technically the second time I'm doing this, but I have my free economy block template here, and I'm taping it down to my light board. This Caterpillar Glow is really nice because you can use it with or without the cutting mat. And when the cutting mat's on, you can cut right on top of it with the light on. It's really cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm taping this down on my light board, and then we will turn the light board on. It has this really nice little soft touch button right over here, and there are 4 different light settings. So that's the brightest, and then there's 2, 3, 4, and off. So let's turn it on. Then I'm going to grab a piece of freezer paper, and we don't need a really big piece, just a piece big enough to cover this. This roll I got is like huge though. And so I will cut it down a little bit because we don't need all of that. So nothing shifts around. I'm going to also tape down the freezer paper on the light board so that everything stays in place and our design that we draw on is accurate. So I'm just using like some washi tape so that it doesn't get stuck. Okay, so after we tape this down, and I almost forgot to mention, we have the waxy side of the freezer paper facing down, and we're going to be drawing with the pencil on the more papery feeling side, the drier side, it feels like. So I'm just going to take my ruler and trace this shape out. And since this is a basic shape, I probably wouldn't really need to label the numbers too, but I'm going to anyway. So if you're doing a more intricate design, I definitely do that. And this line is quite a bit off, so I'm going to erase and redraw it. That's the other nice thing about using a pencil instead of a marker, is if you mess up like that, you can erase it easily and not have to start over tracing all of your lines, especially if you're doing a big pattern with a lot of lines. I don't know if it's necessary for me to also draw the seam allowance around the entire block, but I'm going to anyway. We'll trim all that back after we use our first block. And we're going to see how many uses we can get out of this too, because what's nice about this method is even though it's a little bit more work to trace everything out before, even though you have to trace everything out before, you get to reuse the paper. So it's not like we have to keep drawing this with every time we're going to do it. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn this off so that I can see that I got all my lines. Okay. And now I can remove all of this. You just place it right on top of the light board. The soft touch option still works even with the cutting board on it, so that's cool. And we can cut right on top of it. So I'm just going to trim this back. Yes, I'm using my rotary blade on the paper. I'm going to turn my iron on too so that that's ready to go in a second here. Through the tear-free technique as well. So when I'm doing the tear-free, we're never going to be sewing actually through the paper like you would with, I don't know if we call it traditional FPP, or it's just the way I originally learned, was you'd sew through the actual paper. So I like to start by pre-folding all of the lines on the pattern. That's where this ruler is really nice because it's got this like slanted edge here, and it's really nice for folding. You never want to cut against this edge. You want to use the lipped like edge, the quarter edge on the other side when using your rotary cutter. But this edge here is what's really nice for the folding. It makes it super easy. You just line up the line and fold it over, and it folds really nicely. Okay, so now we can get started with the sewing part. So I'm going to do some cute little fussy cuts. I have these sweet critters from this line. Let's do these bears. So this is where this light source is really nice because I can place it right here like this and see exactly that this fits. So this would be so nice for fussy cutting. So to start FPP, the first piece is always a little different because okay, so here's my pattern. I'm flipping it over. This is the waxy side here. I'm going to place my first piece right side facing up, so the wrong side of the fabric is facing the waxy side of the paper. Then I'm going to press it on here. We're going to go ahead and press this on here, and this is where with the glue method, I would have normally kind of like put a little bit of glue because we want it to stick to the paper since we're not actually sewing through the paper. So supposedly this waxy side of the freezer paper is what's going to help it stick, and it does look like it's sticking, so that's nice. So we have our first piece in place. I can check my fussy cut by flipping it over. I can really see it really well through the light here. Okay, so now we need to move on to our number 2 spot. This is a pretty big piece, and I think I can do my 2, 3, 4, and 5 with just this one charm square. So I'm going to cut this so that we have some smaller pieces to work with. Okay, so now with the tear-free technique, I don't even remember how I'd normally do it with traditional paper piecing. I think I would place it like this and then sew through. As you can see with the light source shining through, I can see that this is here. But this is my number 2 piece, so when sewn, it should fill in this number 2. What I'm going to do is fold again between the 1 and the 2 spot. So the thing about the freezer paper is I'm going to have to kind of peel this back since I ironed it on. It's kind of stuck on there, which we wouldn't have with the glue method. So I have between 1 and 2 folded back. I'm going to trim back a 1/4 inch seam allowance from this fold. And we don't need that, that's scrap. And then I'm taking my next piece, so the fabric is right side facing up right now. And I'm going to line it up, and I can see through the paper here that it's filling in my number 2 spot. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but it's there. And I have a 1/4 inch sticking out up top here. If I were to flip this over for like another visual, the fabrics are right sides facing together. But anyway, I'm going to go take this to my sewing machine, and instead of opening this up and sewing on the paper like I normally would with the traditional FPP, I'm going to sew right next to the fold instead. So we're not sewing through the paper at all. As you can see here, I'm sewing right next to the fold, not on the paper. If your needle kind of goes in the paper a little bit, can get it to focus, there's a stitch line, and I could peel this all off right now, but the freezer paper, the waxy coating, is making it kind of stick to the paper while we work with it. So now I'm going to go ahead and press this open. We want to kind of try to avoid the waxy part with our iron because you will get a little residue on your iron. Otherwise, try to kind of wipe that off. Try to use the smallest iron you have when doing this method. And we'll just repeat the same process with all of our pieces until the entire shape is filled in. Now I need to go to number 3. So that's actually over here. So I'm going to fold between 1 and 3. Peel this back. And you can use this ruler again to fold. And I'm going to cut back a 1/4 inch seam allowance again. And to grab my number 3 piece that I want to use. Fabrics are right sides together underneath the paper, sew along this line. And unfold, and we'll press. Okay, and we'll just keep doing the same thing. So the basic process is fold, cut back seam allowance. This one doesn't have much excess here. Line up fabric, make sure it's good underneath. That's going to get your whole shape. Sew and press open. This is our last piece, and then we get to trim it up and peel it back, which is the most exciting part. Personally, doing this tear-free method where I don't have to sew through the papers and then rip the papers later has made foundation paper piecing just so much more enjoyable for me, because I thought the worst part was having to rip the papers, especially if you do a really intricate pattern with a lot of small pieces and you can't even get like half the papers out, and then there's like ink in the paper too and your seams and stuff, and this has just made it so much fun. So let's go ahead and peel it back. If I can get it. There you go. And there you have it. My paper is fully intact. I can still feel there's a still waxy coating on here. And we have a finished block. So let's keep going and see how many of these we can do. Well, nap time's over at my house, so I have to wrap things up, but I am still going strong with this template. And I made 7 blocks with this one template. 1, 2, at least I think it's 7. 3, 4, 5, 6. Look how cute. 7 and my favorite, strawberry mice. This one's my favorite so far. But anyway, I could for sure get 8 out. I can tell that the paper is getting a little less sticky and it is getting pretty, you know, worn up. But I bet I could get for sure 8, maybe 9, or maybe even 10 uses out of this. So earlier I was kind of thinking, I don't know if I like this better than the paper and the glue because the fabric, the excess kind of stuck to it. When you folded things back, you had to peel it back. But the more I used it, the way less that was doing that. It wasn't really an issue after like the second use. I mean, at times I did have to peel it a little bit, but not too much. So I think overall, kind of what I'm thinking is I will definitely use this method for foundation paper piecing when I have to make a ton of the same block and they're larger pieces like this. I probably would not use this if I'm doing anything smaller where there's a lot of paper and only a little piece, because then the waxy part will get stuck on my iron. So that's really like the main downfall of this method, is just not maybe being able to use it on really intricate FPP. Those would also take a long time to trace out too. So I think I'll stick to paper with those. But otherwise, I loved this method. Let me know if you've tried it in the comments or you plan to try it, and make sure to like and subscribe for more content and more experimenting with quilting techniques.